This summer, COVID cases are on the rise again across the U.S.
Across the country, COVID hospitalizations jumped more than 14% in the most recent week.
Hospitalizations up 60% in the last month, according to the CDC.
A fast-spreading new subvariant of the coronavirus is raising concerns among health experts globally.
The main driver of this is a variant that's relatively newer to the scene, EG5. It's easier to give and get, so that makes it kind of easier to pass along.
The World Health Organization and the CDC came out saying they were tracking it closely.
A mask can be your best friend. Keep it private. Back in time, we had them in our pockets, in our coats, in our backpacks. Time to bring them out again, especially as the school season starts. We don't want to see kids missing school for things that we could have prevented.
One Atlanta college is now reinstating a mask mandate.
For the next 2 weeks, all students and employees must wear a mask unless alone in their office. There will be social distancing and no large student gatherings.
Upstate University Hospital putting a face mask policy back in place.
So this new requirement is for staff, visitors, and patients in clinical areas of the hospital.
Universal COVID testing is also now mandatory for admitted patients.
You should be wearing masks in crowded areas, especially during a surge.
COVID at-home testing kits back in high demand. CVS is tracking uptick in purchases. So is Walgreens. A spokesperson telling us, quote, "We are seeing greater demand in this category nationwide, which may cause temporary and isolated shortages."
Stock up on at-home tests. They do cover that new strain. Keep a mask handy in case you're in a crowded place. And most of all, get your shots. Your best chance of staying healthy.
A reminder that COVID never went away.
Didn't.
I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it.
Oh, I forgot the opener part. You're muted. That's what happens when Rick takes a week off.
I'm muted because somebody didn't hit the intro. I'm muted because I wasn't waiting. Because, anyway, welcome to News from the Pew, where we take news from around the interwebs and distill it to make it slightly less frightening. I'm your host, Rick Barrett, and we're trying to make out for the fact that Steve didn't put the intro in. Anyway, we're back, and we are happy to be here. Well, some of us are. And we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to make up on. And, of course, we are joined by the great Fawaz Yazi out of the state of Kentucky. Also, last week, up in the state of Michigan, doing his thing very well. If you follow his Instagram and all the social medias, you'll see all of that. And then you have Steve, who forgot the intro. Hi, Steve. So let's get to our first topic of the day, which is the resurgence, which we all knew, right? It is the most advanced, intelligent seasonal flu thing to ever come about, because it only comes around election season, and it only comes around to places that are mass phobic, and we're seeing it, the return of the cough, and it doesn't shock me, and it shouldn't shock you, that we're seeing this quote unquote resurgence, and we're seeing half of the population like a lost lover embrace the return of COVID and the restrictions and the lockdowns and all of these other things. So, Fawaz, your mindset or your reaction, I'm sure we all know what it is, but if you want to go into a little bit more, your thought process when you started to hear it, of course, before he answers, I'll say, I guess Alex Jones was right, because about 2 weeks ago, he predicted that this was going to come back. So he is our American prophet. I think it's time to give him that status. But Fawaz, your thought process, hearing the rumors that the cough, I already said it, so it doesn't matter. COVID coming back. And, of course, that means shots, that means masks, that means all the things that we knew we were never going to escape. It's kind of just waiting for it to return.
Yeah, well, it's good to be with you guys again. Well, we expected this to happen. I think Steve, what chapter of the book you've been reading is this on? Chapter 7 of the WEF taking over the world by 2030?
Actually, 4. It just tells you that you want to go.
Chapter 4.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was the Rona.
We're correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still under the first COVID emergency act, aren't we? We're federally, I think we are.
He didn't re-sign the last a couple months ago. He did not re-sign it.
Yeah,
we're still under the 9/11.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he allowed it to. They knew it was coming back, so we wanted to get a nice fresh coat of paint on it. So that's why we wanted to let the first one go.
Yeah,
I think really Mandy Cohen is really pushing it. She's the new
we all
lead
know what this is. We all know what this is. So, I mean, if you look back in 2016 and 2015 is when we really started to see, I think 2014, somewhere around there, we really started to see the BLM movement take front stage and center. And that was used to try to, to take Trump out, I think, in 2016. That didn't work. Whether it's a miracle that he won or he was put in, that's yet to be seen. But considering it's a mixed bag. His first administration was a mixed bag of good and bad. It's still yet to be seen. And then you saw the emerging of the BLM, the summer of fire dumpster that we saw in 2020, coupled with COVID-19, which gave them the opportunity to put in as many mail-in ballots as possible. And then I think we see it again here in 2023, leading the 2024 election. Now, I'm not going to say this whole thing is because to take Trump out. No one man is that big. They could go after him in so many different ways and make it stick. I think this is bigger than Trump. I said that in 2020. This whole COVID thing wasn't just to get Trump out. It's literally the plan to try to get the surveillance police to take global dominance, and what Steve's been talking about through the WEF, whether Trump is their guy and he's just playing the other side or not, doesn't matter because they're going full force. And COVID was very effective because men around the world have low T. And if you tried this 100 years ago, they would not have gotten away with it because the man would not have stood for it. But I'm going to say this very, very simply. Of what's happening right now, I hope this whole thing is provided to you by the virtue of providentia. I've talked about this virtue before. Providentia is making future decisions based on past experiences. And it's the whole fool me once thing. If anybody is still in this whole mindset of we got to put masks back on and social distance again because there's an uptick in COVID, boy, there's a bridge somewhere in New Jersey I got to sell you. Because you are the most gullible. These are the people that are telling us faith-based people that we're just following, a false god in the sky, the spaghetti monster. And here they are again, falling for the same exact thing that they were duped 3 years ago. Providentia is a great virtue to practice. It's a virtue of looking at future decisions based on past experiences. And fool me once, but and I'm not going back to that. I don't think anybody should. And if anybody gives these people any leeway, boy, you are just brainwashed to you're a sheep among sheep.
So Steve, as he is well ready he's ready to go. I mean, he is absolutely set. This has the benefit, let's look at it from a benefit of speeding us closer to some kind of national divorce, because I've seen out things where the red states have already banned the mask mandates and the vaccine passports and all that kind of stuff. In the blue states, like a warm blanket. I know Fawaz said people are stupid enough to embrace it, and he's right. I also think there's a segment of the population, like I said, want this. They desire it. They love feeling this warm blanket of, I just get to stay home and not do anything, protect my neighbor. But I'm sure you can't breathe
the government.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you can't breathe, Steve. So why don't you jump in here?
I was listening to Fawaz, and he was giving me hope. I've been practicing. I couldn't wait to put these back on. That's why they've been up there. I had to dust them off, make sure they're clean. Even though I touched them, so I have to throw them away. I even got Mr. Monkey over there. So when Monkeypox 2.0 comes back up, I still got the monkey. I need to do some more treadmill running, I guess, because I still can't breathe on these things yet. Excuse me.
Just don't suffocate on air.
Yes. Yeah, let's see, 3 colleges in Georgia have already put them back in. They will come all the way. Probably one hospital's back in. We got our 4th be born in December, first week of December. She has to go to a hospital for it. So I'm looking to, if you don't hear from me by the end of that week, please find me. Probably need bail. Just if I got 4 cops come to me or 3 cops come to me last September, I wonder how that's going to be when Craziness 2.0 goes down in December. Because October is supposed to be the airline muzzling, and then December is supposed to be the hardcore lockdown.
Yeah.
Now, funny you brought up Alex. I was at the gym. Out there quite often, but 3 weeks ago, one of my Canadian buds comes up to me and tells me that he has intel from a guy up in Canada saying that they're coming down with no lockdown in October and to finalize in December. And then Alex comes out the next week. I catch him before I catch him the week that Alex comes out with it. Go, dude, you're ahead of Alex. What's up? Is the Canadian him? I guess Canadian news is already. And I just saw a video in Canada where they're having a fight about face masks outside some store right now. So deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra said. Yes, we are on the same page. We're on chapter 4, the same page. I remember watching a video back in 2020 saying that there was going to be 7 ebbs and flows for the next 2.5 years or something like was it? I can't remember the exact month number. But when they said this was going down, I was like, well, yep, it's a plan. They already got this planned out. They're going to try to push it through. There will be people there doing it. It's going to be, who's not going to say it? I mean, you got Trump out here doing this right now.
Politics are trying very hard to bring back COVID lockdowns and mandates with all of their sudden fear-mongering about the new variants that are coming. Gee whiz, you know what else is coming? An election. They want to restart the COVID hysteria so they can justify more lockdowns, more censorship, more illegal drop boxes, more mail-in ballots.
Now, YouTube has come out saying that they're going to come back on the censorship stuff, medical malinformation.
Just in time for YouTube to push theirs. I mean, not YouTube, but X. Just in time for X to push their censorship.
And they've been on the record saying they're going to do that to the lady that Elon hired.
Yeah, Yahoo lady.
And trillions of dollars in payoffs to their...
Now, the election ain't till next year, so I don't know if this is a whole election thing. I mean, Trump made $1.7 million since he got since his mugshot came down, so he's cashing in on this too. And let's not forget,
20 million.
Anybody is consistent.
20 million now.
That's probably. This man that you're watching that's saying we will not comply, he locked us down. That was the man that locked us down. He didn't. There was Off Guardian has a great web thing on there. I did it on Clown Plan last week on why you shouldn't trust him on this upcoming. Why he shouldn't be the next president was the title of it. And they bring up the Rona in there saying he was the reason. They might have said that all these guys were other people. He didn't get rid of Burks, who was a military general or something like that. What was a lieutenant? She was a higher rank. But in TV land, she put a scarf around her neck. Hell, just wouldn't like you. But it was a military operation. He didn't get rid of Fauci. He stayed there the whole daggone time. And didn't he run a show where he was firing people left and right? All of a sudden, his what's got in a vase or something? There was something fishy about that. And listen more.
Political allies heading into the 2024 election. Does that sound familiar? These are bad people. These are sick people we're dealing with. But to every COVID tyrant who wants to take away our freedom, hear these words: we will not comply.
Unless it's
so don't even think about it. We will not shut down our schools. We will not accept your lockdowns.
Because remember, after 2 weeks, he would say, we're going to be back open on Easter. And he's Mr. Big Bad, you know what? And wait a minute, that didn't happen.
We will not abide by your mask mandates, and we will not tolerate your vaccine mandates.
He's the father
Mr. Operation Warp Speed guy over here.
That's why I put it on the front. That original clip came from somewhere else, and I added him on there because I'm the father of the vaccine. He's the one that pushed it. He's out there with guys like Bill O'Reilly when they booed him about the jabs. Oh, no, get it. I got it twice. It's not a big deal. And he's out there in his press rally, his rallies saying, go get it. And it's hard for me to trust him on this one, especially this one.
Yeah, no,
they rigged the 2020 election, and now they're trying to do the same thing all over again by rigging the most important election in the history of our country, the
Drink! Don't you hear that all the time?
2024 election, even if it means trying to bring back COVID, but they will fail because we will not let it happen. When I'm back in the White House, I will use every available authority to cut federal funding to any school, college, airline, or public transportation system that imposes a mask mandate or a vaccine mandate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Really good for right now, but you don't. That's 2024. No, 2025 January.
Yeah, that's a whole year though of lockdowns.
Yeah, we're not. If that goes that far, you'll see people burning towns down. If that's the case,
right? And there you go, history made real quick. Jeff Wilson with a very generous. I don't know what is that U.S. money. I don't know, CA or whatever it is, but it's a very generous $13 or 13 whatever it is. Thank you very much for your donation. And Steve, you need to take that to buy more masks.
I had 2 more up. I just didn't get around to it. My apologies. I'm losing my touch. Oh, where did this go? Talk about censor. I had a graph. That was a graph right there that was supposed to show you what the things are. I'll see if I can get that pulled back. Thanks, StreamYard, for just going boo-hoo on me.
Isn't that a Rumble issue more than StreamYard?
I think it's StreamYard because all my videos just went kapunk.
Oh, interesting. Well, once we start talking about the jib jab jabajoo, and then it's everything starts going haywire again.
It's fun. Just right when that happened, they all just went dead. I'll see if I can pull it back up, but I think on my end I got to like.
The fact of the matter is, it's completely a joke up until it. You know why? Because it was Trump's baby to help him get reelected. The vaccine, the warp speed. He even made a big deal about it when Pfizer announced 2 days after the election that they had one. And he was like, you should have done it before. It would have helped me win. And now that it is politically inconvenient because it could potentially, with mail-in balloting and all that stuff, prevent him from getting elected. Now he's Mr. Oh, nope, no lockdowns, no mandates, none of this, none of that. All I'm saying is Trump is just as much of a politician as anybody else because... Exactly. You know, his finger is in the wind. And
here's the graph I was trying to bring up. You see August 16, 2023. You see new daily confirmed Rona cases per million people. Do you even see that you have to? I'd have to scan in to get the line to break up. Where was this during here? Where was it? That was early March 2022. There's another one coming up here on deaths. I think it is. Here it is. Confirmed deaths. You see it down here? We're down here. We're at the line. But that line is 0. But time to shut down everything and be in fear. And we're going to gaslight you for the next couple months. New admissions. Here we are down here. That's where it's like, what, 18, like maybe like 15,000 right there. Hey, look at there's peak. So like they had a stat of, what were we at? 6%. What was it? 6% I said it was? 10%? It was something small. 16% of the nine. It was so they were up 19%, and that was 80% lower than the top dog or something like that. So there was I can't remember. I just put a sermon together where what priest ended up saying, knowledge is scary. If you look at stuff like this and then show it to somebody, go, hey, we're locking down. We need to, we're in times of being afraid. Well, there's nobody getting anything. It's what's going
but
on.
People have been so absolutely mind warped by the entire process. All they have to do is say scary new variant, and half the people have been programmed to follow the instructions. Right. Like we said, they can't wait to get their masks. They can't wait to do all these other stuff. They can't wait to do all these other things as well. And that's just what they want. And that was the goal from the first round, to see who would comply and who wouldn't. And let's be real. If Trump was promoting it, you'd have, certain parts of MAGA population that would be doing it as well. It's not just a Republican versus Democrat thing. It's also a cult of personality thing.
So the Uniparty.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% right. The Uniparty can't wait to do this again because they do it in stages. Because we also haven't talked about the fact that this is the second go around to destroy the small businesses that survived the first go around. And real quick, it's because I cover it every day. ATF is trying to shut down as many small FFLs as possible. Why is this a big deal? Because they're funneling them into your Cabela's, into your academies, because big box anything will comply with government mandates, regulations, whatever the case may be. And that's what we saw in the first lockdowns, because what are they going to get, guys? They're going to get a nice big fat PPE check from whatever the case may be to keep those places open, which is going to cause inflation to go up and all of these other wonderful things that we saw in 2020.
I don't know about you guys. If you guys seen it, I know of 3 or 4 businesses here that have shut down the last 2 weeks.
Really? For what reason?
Everything from, was it the Old Charlie's down to mom and pops. Just people with that numbers are down across the board. Yeah. And I know of other businesses that are really close to going down too. And it's back down to the numbers are down. People aren't going out. People aren't doing this. People aren't spending anything. Prices are up. People are scared still. So we live in a state of fear. It's the one book. There's a great book by an English author of this called The State of Fear. When it's a solid one. You'll feel sorry for these people that they walked. One story was a cop. I tried 2 years ago, read it, that he was terrified to walk into his house because he thought he was going to kill his family. That's how, think about how evil what went down a couple years ago. That's what drives me batty about some of the clerics that went in on it, going, wait a minute. You're supposed to speak the truth, tell the truth, all this. And you have no problem talking about how bad Trump or the border is. But when we're coming out where people are literally terrified to breathe, there's nobody saying, like Full Sheen, if you cover your eyes, the church is going to say, hey, take those things off. Your eyes got to see. And the world's going to say, oh, they're open for eye control. I wish we were like that. Who's going to be? Now, I remember writing Bishop Strickland one time saying, we need a leader like you on this in front of everybody about these jabs, about these masks and all this. He didn't like that. He wasn't up for it at the time. Hopefully he will be up for it now. He's a little bit more outspoken on things, but I'm afraid there's not going to be a lot doing it. And I wish John Stockton had the great line of the church dropped the ball on this.
Do we see the church doing it again?
Oh, man. We bubbled twice.
Yeah. No, if you look at the second go around, remember we had the initial lockdown, and that winter we had another lockdown. Wisconsin, I think the governor of Wisconsin called everybody in. It was actually the bishops. My pastor told me this because it was actually the bishops were the ones who were like, we're not locking down anymore. He's like, no. Everybody has to be online. Everybody has to. They're like, no, we're not doing this anymore. So they ended up calling off the full lockdown because the bishops actually were like, we're not doing this anymore. So if the bishops stand up, we will not have a lockdown. They have a lot of power. And one more thing, it shows you how evil these people are. Just 10 months ago, because we don't have short-term memory like most people do, unfortunately. Do you remember 10 months ago they were calling for pandemic amnesty?
Yes, right.
And now they're doing the same thing they wanted amnesty for 10 months ago? Yeah. It gets to show you how evil these people are. We can't have short memories when it comes to this. We really got to dig deep and stand strong and push our bishops to say, we ain't doing this. You're not going to deprive us of the sacraments again. That was the most important thing. Take my money or whatever it is, but don't deprive me of the sacraments, because I could literally die in the middle of these lockdowns without the sacraments.
Yeah. How many people did? I knew at least 1 or 2 people that died in a hospital without getting access. And I can't say anything negative, but shame on every single priest that allowed souls to be lost for their own benefit. That's I'll say it as gently as possible. Because priests are supposed to be shepherds of the flock. If I'm not, if I should be so bold, of their flock, and the fact that they, for their own benefit, didn't just push through, the dancing TikTok nurses and said, I have people in here, my sheep are in here, and I don't want their souls to be lost. And if I get sick, then I get sick. Instead, they were too busy, doing these things and that things. But we talked about that.
Imagine if the Holy Father came out instead of that one day when there was nobody in square and said, stop living in this lie, stop living in fear, and just put the hammer. Even though now, obviously, he's part of the problem in that he's a fan of the reset, so I guess that has to be part of the orders. But what if that would have happened? he would have been hated on beyond hate. Might have been killed because that was a big global plan that just went down. That was like no one ever seen that before. Talking about a global experiment that just went down. So you saw what you would. It was that line of, if you ever wondered how your neighbor would be when during the concentration camps when they were asking for Jews. Now you know your neighbor would have turned on you. We live next to a neighbor. We don't I don't say a thing, because they're pushers. They're pushers of the jab. She works in the hospital. Like, yeah, I told my wife, do not tell them a thing.
Nope.
You'd have no idea who to trust or not. I mean, there's people that, are terrified beyond terrified. And it goes back to, I know priests here that did not close down. They all stayed. One priest down the street, 15 minutes, 15 people only, wink, and left the door open. And that's the beauty about Ad Orientem. He didn't have to worry about counting. Some busybody ended up calling him in, which there was a couple of them that told him to get out. You're not welcome back in here. Yeah, you turn on your priest on something like that. The laity should police that one.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see who's going to comply and who's not. The joke is, hey, you thought I didn't comply before? Wait till I not comply even harder this time.
Now that you know you're going into, right? Now that you know what you're to expect and the behavior that we are going to be looking out for, because we know what their level is, right? The returns of the Karens and the returns. Also, we can dispel a lot of the notions, right? Oh, back the blue will be here, blah, 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 blah. This, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
Jonathan, how are you, my friend? I think you might be pulling a Rick.
Here it was. I remember the barber before I decided to call it the clan, the Unite the Clan here movement. Join all you guys.
So John,
he told me, he goes, it'll be over my dead body before they make me close my barber shop down. And that was just a little guy. That was a two dudes barber. And imagine if the rest of everyone else had the stones like those guys. But hey, Gastonia, we're in an era with a good sheriff. The sheriff is not one of those guys. The gym got called in a couple times. They were like, but the guy that owns the gym he's part of a movie, by the way. They made a movie because he was some gigantic theft about 20 years ago.
Oh, Ocean's 11?
Huh?
Ocean's 11?
No, but close enough. I'll send you the link. I forget his name. Owen Wilson played his character. I can't remember the name of the movie.
Zoolander?
No. It wasn't a theft movie.
I know.
I know
John,
you
I want to get John in here.
Cops would go in and say, hey, Steve, we got called for a thing. Yeah. Just coming to get a donut.
All right. So, John, welcome. Glad to have you with us. Your reaction to hearing the rumbles about COVID coming back and now full-blown reporting on cases and spikes, and people are breaking out their masks from the bottom of their purse, and people talking about future lockdowns. Your thoughts about the fact that we knew this was coming and now it's here, and the response going forward?
I think it's a little bit of a psyop, actually. So, I mean, sure, I think some places, some menial places that really just don't mean much in the grand scheme of things, so kind of worthless as far as a judge of these things. But I think that it's more or less just for the elite to see how well their predictions worked and how well their analytical tools, how well they've worked at judging, who's going to be on board with future, how should I say, tightenings of the cord. So I don't expect there to be much different or something that's really going to be earth shattering. Actually, I hope that I'm right too, but I could be wrong. But my feeling is that although our memories have been dulled by, the uber electronic age, I don't think people are en masse. I mean, we're talking about to the extent that happened 3 years ago. I don't think that we're that stupid and that have that weak of a memory. So I think that this has just been used more or less as a way to kind of feel people out with just enough places doing something like this one little meaningless college here in Atlanta that was, I think, the first kind of big place to reinitiate things. I don't think it's going to end up materializing near to any sort of extent where it's going to put a hamper on 95% of the world's population's lives. I don't think. We'll see. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first to say it, but it's just a guess right now.
If you're wrong, we'll just blame Steve. So it's not too big of a deal. Don't worry about that.
I gave the wrong intel.
But it is it is what they like to call a trial balloon. They let this we have to understand that none of this stuff is allowed to be leaked without approval, to see how the masses react to such a thing. That's why even though they find Alex Jones the GDP of France, they haven't collected on it or anything because they like Jones. They like to see how Jones throws out his wackadoo theories, and they want to see how the public responds to it. And so we're seeing how this response is being led, and we're seeing which parts of the population are not making a fuss and which are. Who are the ones we already know, the ones to keep an eye on. Are there any new, like independents or anything like that may have been swayed by the past 2 years that we need to keep our eye on? And I agree with Flaz that it's not about Trump, because of course Trump would think that because of his own ego, but it's not about Trump per se. It is about the continued transfer of wealth and the continued transfer of power, or not even power, but the establishment, and really just the making it permanent in that regard of relying on the centralized government, and really just finishing the job that Lincoln did when he cut all the power to the states. Because remember, the reason why the first, at least the popular narrative, the reason why the first COVID ended was because of Florida leading the way on states' rights. So don't think that if this does go through, that this would not be another way to attack states' rights and to really just kind of finish that job out completely. Because like I said, the red states have already come out and said no mask mandates, no this, that, and the other thing. What if somebody from the Biden regime goes, hey, that idea Trump made about withholding funding, I think it's a great idea. We're going to withhold funding to the red states for, whatever, this, that, and the other thing, unless they comply, right? We're going to get to that point where the government's authority, the centralized government versus the state government, is really going to be put to the test. So I don't know if anybody has anything they want to remark on that. I know Steve does, but anybody else?
Go ahead.
All you, brother. I said my piece. Anybody else have anything?
We were speaking of my heart on that, but let me go ahead and pull this up too. This is also part of, remember that whole thing about the what was it, the Veritas guys? Remember those guys? Remember the undercover was about the climate?
Oh yeah.
This back in 2020. This is from the WEF website. I scanned to make sure I'll never lose it. But it was the pause during the lockdown created a pandemic will result in a 7% decrease in global emissions in 2020. They wanted the next line. The UN states that we need a decrease of 7.6 every year until 2030 to avoid climate and ecological disaster. What have they been doing for the last couple of months? Prepping us in this. Oh, look at that hurricane! Look at that! What was it? What they call hurricanes in the West Coast? Typhoons. Whatever hit California, the hurricane in California. They're all losers. I can't believe TMZ.
Was that Hillary, right? Was that what's called?
Yeah, Hill Dog ended up suiciding a couple people out there. They're out there going, look at that. Look how crazy it is. We never seen that. Dodgers Stadium parking lot was underwater, but if you lived in LA, you're like, yeah, it's not underwater. But everyone was losing their minds over there. Look at the photos. Oh my goodness, look at what's going on over there. Oh, look at the fires. Maui, Greece, Canada, here. Look, global warming, climate change, this. Look at Idalene or whatever. Was it Idalene? Why could you just make it Ida? They were literally, I saw the TV said that there was the, what was the exact words? Gigantic event or something like that. It was a category 3. Went from a Cat 1, Cat 3, Cat 1. I saw some photos on coast of South Carolina where a tornado went through and caught a car. I think 1 death in Florida. What would Hugo think of this? Hurricane Hugo's in the back going, hey guys, Katrina. Hey guys, what about me?
Or Harvey.
Pretty big one. They're making this Cat 3 into the greatest hurricane in the history of hurricanes. All because of climate change. They're going to run this myth of this Vivek during the presidential campaign. That was the only time he got booed, was when he talked about climate change was a hoax.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Do what?
We'll talk about, we'll definitely get into that a little bit more when we talk about the actual debate.
Yeah, I mean, but there's just people all around got this religion of earthism in there. We got to do it for climate. That's what the CNN and all those guys. That's what the Veritas group ended up getting in that that interview at that guy with the restaurant was the next thing they're going to push would be climate change. This is all about. This had nothing to do about a virus. They used it. It weaponized the virus. UNC weaponized SARS, which the connection. I don't know if that's a connection from last week's shooting. UNC weaponized it. There was a shooting there. Rick was telling me about this. The guy was a Wuhan grad. What a coinky dink! A Wuhan grad shot somebody at the University of North Carolina who weaponized SARS. Anybody want to see it? Maybe look into that a little bit. I don't know any journalism out there going. Let's see if there's a connection. I don't know. It just could be. But no, this is all about trying to get into obviously control, but it's a climate change thing. Earthism, that's what the whole Great Reset thing is all about. Yeah, shut down people. You get the monthly payment. I just went stupid. What's
UBI?
UBI, Universal Basic Income. That's going to kick in. Everybody and their brother knows that's coming. The social credit system. Charlotte, North Carolina is applying to be a smart city. Every city is going to eventually be that thing. So when you have a lockdown, all you got to do is go, click, and the AI will take over, and you won't be able to do a thing in that city. That's not so far off.
No, it's really not. John, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, too, I think y'all are exactly right about one thing as far as the end goal is, right? So, I mean, they may call an audible at any moment, right? And we just got to we got to explain to our folks that this is how they work. As far as it goes for them, since their end is evil, it doesn't matter at all the means they use to get to it, right? Because their goal is evil. They can even use some good means, right? They can use some things that are completely just a tactic to distract us from what their end goal is. But Steve hit the nail on the head. Their end goal is certainly that, and for Waz as well, and you, Rick, that it's a transfer of wealth. That's the goal, right? And I probably said this on here before, but I got to say, I think the person who foresaw this use of earthism as a means really of transferring wealth and of paralyzing the average person's ability to make sane, rational decisions that otherwise, a person might make in this situation is Michael Crichton, the great writer, the Jurassic Park series, in his book called State of Fear. Best piece of kind of non-Catholic fiction that I've ever read in my life, because it's a great story. Like all of his books are hard to put down, but he's getting across, and he says it later. And this is when he started to lose his popularity. I don't know if you knew before, not just the Jurassic Park stuff. He was directing TV shows as well as half his books being turned into movies. But it's when he saw that earthism was becoming a new religion and a means of transfer of power and wealth, and he nailed it in this book, State of Fear. And that's effectively what they're trying to do, right? So no matter what means they end up using, they're letting, as one of you guys just said, they're letting these things leak just in their own time, trying to kind of fill out the fear level too, right? Because once they paralyze us with fear, like we either are doing fear purchasing or fear restraining of our purchasing, things that sort, on an economic level. But that use of fear to control us goes into other aspects of our lives besides just kind of homo economicus, right? Of economic man, a buying man, but in every other area as well. And it keeps us from making just the good, normal decision we make. That is a state of consistent fear, right? Fear helps us, yes, in the short term. Like, I see a lion or a wolf or something, I'm going to take off the other way, right? Or try to protect myself somehow. But when you're paralyzed with fear like this consistently, you end up making bad decisions consistently, as we saw during COVID. So, whether it's another rollout of COVID or something else, we're going to see the end that you guys have been describing. No matter that much is for sure. People got to remember that the means may change, the ends will stay the same.
Exactly. Great point there, John. And everybody around here with this point that the whole purpose of this, no matter what, the ends is the complete consolidation of central government through AI, through all of that kind of stuff. And eventually, of course, the WEF's plan that completely comes together. And so that's what we're looking at. And we're staring down the barrel of it because we know that the coming election season is the perfect opportunity for them to deploy it again. So who will stand up and who will not, it'll be interesting as we move forward. Speaking of potentially standing up,
Can I say one more thing, brother?
Of course, absolutely. Jump in.
I forgot who it was, but
it was a great point. It was obviously me.
Yeah, it's definitely you. Somebody made a good point. I saw it on Twitter. I don't know what his name is. I forgot his name. But he did make this point and said the first company or the first retail big company that decides to put in masks, mandates to enter their store, Bud Light, you know what out of them. I think that's good advice because we do have some power, believe it or not. And if we could bankrupt this, the other ones, you never know because Vanguard and BlackRock could definitely come in and foot the bill. But it's how long can we hold versus how long can they bleed? Money is going to be the new game.
No, it's I think it was Scott something. Scott.
Yeah, Scott. Scott something. I forgot his name, but yeah, he's
one of those Scott guys.
If you do it a big box, you're not going to do much to them. They got the money to withstand that. But if the mom and pops, you'll kill them.
Right.
Exactly. But then again, if they're going to be instituting mask mandates, they're not your political friend anyway. If somebody
then the mom and pops are in a bad situation because if they don't do it, the city's going to revoke their license and they're screwed either way. So they're they're between a rock and a hard place. It's more of a better start thinking locally and fix up your city. You had a chance to fix your cities up a couple years ago, and did you do it or not? What's your city council is from 2020 to 2023 August? I think there was an election in some cities and counties in 2022. What did you do? Did you put people in that were going to stand up against it, never let that happen again? Or did you not care? Because if you didn't care, good luck. You're going to get it again. Maybe you'll care round 3. I don't know.
By round 3, we'll all be in pods. So it doesn't really matter at that point.
Well, just go like Charlotte. I know the Mecklenburg County, no change really occurred. And just thinking about what the businesses went down with and people went there, the school system and all that, not real big change. I mean, the state level did, but it's county level. So, yeah, I mean, if anybody complains in Mecklenburg, I'll make sure I'll just let them know, hey, what'd you do? Did you do anything a couple years ago? Did you run? Did you vote for somebody that didn't run? Or did you just say, it was over with,
Well, they were just going to hope for Trump. That was their thing. They're going to hope for Trump. Trump's going to do it. He's going to fix it. He's going to get back into office, and he's going to fix all the stuff that he apparently messed up.
Did you see that Laura Loomer? Is that her name?
Yeah.
The tweet that she put out that if Trump doesn't get elected, we shouldn't have kids anymore because we've been living under communist country.
Yeah, well, Laura Loomer doesn't have any kids, thanks be to God. So I don't think she should really be talking.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. If Trump doesn't get elected,
she is of a certain persuasion that doesn't shock me that she would say that. She has replaced Ann Coulter as the psychotic woman in love with Trump syndrome that no matter what, he can do no wrong and he is the greatest. I didn't catch that tweet, but here's the thing. It doesn't shock me one bit that she would say that.
And like Ann Coulter, she'll probably jump 100% the other way very soon. I mean, look, if you read Adios America, at least Coulter had the right reasons for supporting Trump way early. She explained it in a whole book, but you get all excited about one point and then you flip-flop. Ugly.
Well, for her, she's a single issue voter, and it's immigration. And so whoever she thinks is going to be the best on immigration is who she's going to support. And that's why she's not supporting him. I think she's supporting DeSantis now. And speaking of DeSantis and the other ones, we had, if you care, a debate last week where it was Vivek Ramaswamy, which I'm not saying Vivek Ramaswamy, and the Pretenders. So I mean, that's pretty much what it is. It's a bad band title, but that's pretty much what they are. The Swampy. But let's take a look. It's going to be fun trying to say his name for the next 6 months.
I'm trying to get the play. I'll see if I got another video.
Vivek Ramaswamy. There you go, folks. I got it at least one time. Probably won't get it again.
Fireworks on center stage. The first
Republican
debate.
We need to bring With frontrunner Donald Trump refusing to attend, citing his lead in the polls, the night revolved around the next two highest polling candidates, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
We will send Joe Biden back to his basement, and we will reverse the decline of this country.
And entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy.
The only war that I will declare as U.S. president will be the war on the federal administrative state.
The polarizing political newcomer trading barbs with nearly every other candidate, who pointed out his lack of experience.
Now is not the time for on-the-job training.
Now that everybody's gotten their memorized, pre-prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually have a real discussion now.
And his combative style.
I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT.
Some of the night's most substantive discussion on the issue of abortion and whether candidates would support a federal ban.
I promise you, as President of the United States, the American people will have a champion for life in the Oval Office.
Don't make women feel like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't have 60 Senate votes.
Despite his glaring absence in the room, Mr. Trump's presence still felt. Asked if they'd support him as the GOP nominee, even if he were convicted. Eventually, 6 candidates, including DeSantis, saying yes, as the crowd reacted. Though some still seized on his legal and political baggage.
The conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States.
Former Vice President Mike Pence using the debate to once again defend his actions on January 6th.
He asked me to put him over the Constitution. And
Incorrect.
I chose the Constitution.
Would you have approached that question and that point any differently on the stage tonight if Donald Trump had been on it with you?
I don't believe I would, and I think it was a missed opportunity for him not to be there. My bet is he might be at the next one.
Yeah, well, Pence.
The former president's advisors say the focus on him and on his policies and on the chaotic nature of the debate generally vindicated his decision not to show up and point to.
All right, to you, Governor Haley. So why are you better positioned to turn around this economy that we've heard all of these voters talking about tonight than Mr. Ramaswamy, who is a successful entrepreneur nationally right now? He's beating you in the polls. Well, I don't care about polls. What I care about the fact is that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Our Republicans did this to us, too. When they passed that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill, they left us with 90 million people on Medicaid, 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing. They need to eliminate the earmarks that the Republicans brought back in. And they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's not their dollars. And while they're all saying this, you have Ron DeSantis, you've got Tim Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all voted to raise the debt. And Donald Trump added $8 trillion to our debt, and our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024 budget, Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks, Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big.
Yeah, so great for her. She's still not going to garner any support in any way, shape, or form. And if she ever had an opportunity to get access to that $1 trillion buffet, she's going to put her face in just like everybody else. And so very interesting. I think Mike Pence would have puckered up real quick if Trump was on the same stage with him.
Trump might have punched him.
I mean, it would have been hysterical to see him just absolutely to see Trump stone cold stun Mike Pence at that moment. But it just the fact that we're seeing this whole thing points I listened to a little bit of it. Chris Christie should be barred from being able to run. Well, he doesn't run for anything. Putting his name into the arena for president. The guy hasn't done anything. He was governor of New Jersey twice. Who cares? That's like congratulations.
Snooki cares.
Who?
Snooki, she cares.
Whatever. Yeah, there's another one who needs to lay off the donuts. But he shouldn't be governor. The governor of Arkansas shouldn't be. These people are ridiculous. And the only reason they're up there is there's so much money from these consultants during campaign season. They just need to find somebody to run for a couple months so they can raise their money and put their name in and put some profile in and then go back to DC for another 2 or 4 years. Because that's all that we're doing here. DeSantis looks like a chump. Sorry, if you're a DeSantis supporter, you can blast me on Twitter or whatever. But the guy doesn't, the fact that he sheepishly put up his hand after Vivek did, and we've all seen the meme of his smile. Where he was like, that one. That's just, he just doesn't. He should have been governor. Should have stayed as a governor and just called it a day. But the fact that I don't know, John, did you watch the debates at all? Okay, well, your impressions of it then.
Yeah. Now, granted, I watched it after I saw the interview that Tucker did with Trump, which was kind of unimpressive. You know what? Let me just say one thing. I think Steve is a genius and hit the nail on the head. We should have pushed him to the limits of the internet when he said on the Clown Planet that clearly the reason Trump didn't want to get on the stage is because he probably knew that one of the guys, and probably Vivek, would have just called him on the horrible job he did in his last year as president on the lockdowns. I mean, he let Fauci run the country basically and pushed Operation Warp Speed. I mean, surely, I hope, if not everybody on that stage is completely bought, one of them would have said that and would have humiliated him and just would have kept hammering that, and Trump would have been done. I mean, done forever. He would not have been, I don't think, an effective politician anymore. If somebody had listened to Steve Cunningham and had pushed that on the debate stage and said that's why he was, too chicken to show up, Trump be out of the picture. I think, because that's still such a touchy subject in most people's memories that you don't go there without thinking, all right, I want some blood because of what happened. It was horrible, right? We all suffered a ton. Other than that, right, just so much. Other than Vivek, it was just a complete embarrassment. The only one else there who said a few decent things, I thought, you know what, this guy's showing some. DeSantis had a few good moments, but oh my word, I think he's done and should just get out now because of the way he did this. At that question about what would you do if Trump were convicted. I mean, come on. Do you not know there are television cameras around there? I mean, what are you doing? You don't, first of all, look, if you're going to raise your hand, just hear the question and think, okay, well, yeah, and maybe explain yourself, but you don't do this. I mean, goodness, that was so cringe. Oh my word. Do
you think he's on the spectrum? Because people have been floating that a little bit lately. Do you think he's on the spectrum there?
All I know is there's something peculiar about the man because he has these moments where he speaks. I hate to say it, but it's almost like that Denzel movie, where they put the thing in the guy's back. Help me out, guys. And he's like controlling the guy. Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, yeah. That Manchurian Candidate.
Because sometimes you think this guy he's nailing it. He's speaking clearly and with a sense of kind of manliness. You think, yes, I'd like this guy as my president. All right, we're going to get something back here. And then other times you just think, oh, we're like a deflated balloon. What's wrong with you, boy? I don't know. That was my impression. Is that, and besides just a couple of Pence just embarrasses himself more and more every time he opens his mouth. I mean, the others are all kind of a joke, but if Pence had just retired in peace, I think it would have been okay. But asked me to put him over the Constitution. Like, what are you talking about? A bunch of baloney. And whoever else said, was it Chris beneath the office? That depends on what your definition is, Christian. I mean, beneath what office? Like, presidents can't sin? What? So I don't know. The rest of them were just a joke, but Vivek it's kind of interesting. It's fun listening to him. I got to say, I enjoy listening to him.
When DeSantis speaks on policy, he is very strong. When he has his talking points and everything down, sounds great. You get him out of that comfort zone, God, he sounds like a ninth grader at a high school dance. It's just very awkward, and he doesn't really know what to do. Fawaz, your thoughts on Vivek, on DeSantis, on the rest of the pretenders. I will ask you this, Fawaz. It's very interesting when you hear somebody like even DeSantis on policy, very robust, very confident. Vivek, he's wheeling, dealing freehand. He's just letting it flow. And then you have somebody like Pence. Every time he's asked a question, he waits about 15 seconds, makes a Bible verse, and then gives a talking point. The man is speaking like it's 1985.
Yeah, that's it.
And he's just stuck in that robotic. I mean, the guy was a radio host, so you would think he would be more flexible on these kinds of things. But man, if you asked, and I'll borrow this from Chris Christie, if you asked ChatGPT to create the prototypical Republican, Mike Pence would just spit out.
No, yeah, he looked. Yeah, Mike Pence or Mitt Romney, right? Those are the two that really are. So yeah, you're right. As far as Mike Pence goes, he's not very much liked. No, it's say what you want. The Republican Party has become the Trump Party. He's really transformed it. And I think what Vivek tried to do, he tried to do it, not as effective as Trump. What made Trump so great in 2016 is, you remember in his debate with Bush, I mean, and Christie and Rubio and Cruz. I remember watching those debates in 2016, and I remember being like, this guy is amazing. The reason I liked it is because for the first time, it wasn't your, we're going to talk to you like you're a fifth grader, and we're going to keep all the in-house secrets in-house. Trump released and told the world, told the U.S., all the voters, what they've been doing. The fact that the interest and donors were the ones that got tickets. We never knew that until Trump said that when they were booing him when he was going against Jeb Bush. You remember that in 2016. So I think Vivek tried to harness that type of energy that Trump did in 2016 here in 2020. Number one, I don't think he could do it as well because Trump is a master. He's a TV guy. He understands when to say something, how to say it. So Vivek's really trying to be the younger 2016 Trump. He's saying the right things and who is he going after? Vivek is very smart. He's going after the Trump base. He's saying the same things that Trump, and every single time when I listen to him when he goes on the news, when he's interviewed, he's always defending Trump, and he always says it would be great if Trump was out of the picture. I would be the nominee because I'm in second place. While you got Mike Pence, who's still trying to go after your Reagan, boomer type of Republican that doesn't exist anymore. Even most of those guys are for Trump now. So he's really transformed the Republican Party. If you're going to go with the status quo, like Christie and those guys, even Vivek said to Christie, it's not Monday morning in America anymore. We're in dark times. And as far as Nikki Haley, all I gotta say is this: she had a Native American name, and she changed her name to Nikki Haley for political reasons, only to get destroyed by some Indian guy named Vivek Eat a Shawarma. I mean, you can't make this up.
Karma, bro. That's what you literally call karma right there.
So,
I don't know in their religion what they call it, but that's I guess it's karma.
That's probably what it is. It's karma. So yeah, my last thing is it was a nice circus. I kind of enjoyed the Tucker Trump interview, not because I think Trump said anything significant. I think Tucker Carlson is amazing at this, but in that particular interview, he didn't push. He should have asked about Fauci. He should have asked about these things that Trump was doing this first. He should have, because he's got no problem doing it to Mike Pence. We talk about Ukraine.
You think he's got a spine? He ain't got a spine for that.
Yeah, he's got a spine against Nikki Haley and those guys, but not with Trump.
Selective enforcement.
Yeah, and I wish he would have pushed a little bit more on that because he does good stuff. I like Tucker, but the reason I like the interview was because I didn't have much to do that day, and it was pretty entertaining. That's it.
Yeah, I mean that's what Trump's for.
Yeah,
and so it's very interesting in that regard. Steve, your thoughts on all Vivek Schwabahaba?
Eat a shawarma is what I call him. Vivek, eat a shawarma.
Well, I mean, I'll go just because you brought up the Trump thing. I thought it was a waste of my time. I listened to it because I'm going for a while. You owe me 46 minutes of life. I saw his tweet and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I was putting together some pots of plants in the house, and I was having it in the background. So I put it in my pocket while I was doing this and going. I think after 15 minutes, I zoned out, and I think I was watching the paint dry for a little bit, going, "What in the world is he talking about?" It's just all over the place. One, there was no substance in it. It was it wasn't even softball. It was t-ball. Tucker wasn't going to do anything. But hey, Brian McClane had a great one. He goes, "Please give me 4 more years of this." It was just because of the crap talking to make idiocracy real life again, and pretty much the crap all over the White House in general. That's if we get that, I'm totally cool with that. Because it's everyone makes it out to be like how would you say, maybe like a Greek king or something like that, or if we could just demystify, I guess that would be even better. I mean, the problem with the whole debate thing, anyways, is the centralized government. I mean, that's why is everybody paying attention to these debates as much as they are? I mean, dude, everybody was talking about. They couldn't name me a person that lives down the street that runs for a local government, but they could tell me everything that's going on in the debates or what the centralized government can do for you. That is the problem right now. We have is centralized government, a bloated centralized government, which you can, as Rick brought up before, you can thank good old Abe for that. I mean, it went from that U.S. that you celebrated on 4th of July, 1776, that thing died in the 1800s. This is part 2.0, where it's the authoritarian centralized government that runs your lives. And the states, they try to stop them as much as they can. As DeSantis talked about how they were not going to do lockdowns in Florida. And he will try to do that in D.C., which there's no authority for him to do that in D.C. anyways. But at the state level, you can tell D.C. to go pound sand. But because they give you federal money, a lot of states kiss up to him. Like, was it Alabama? There's the guy that, I forget his name. If Trump was president, you would have had Space Force down there because he's such. They have another military base there, but I think it's out of Colorado now because that's where Biden wanted it to go to. And the Alabama dude, he was they're going after Arlington National Cemetery. They're trying to get rid of the monument, which has been there forever. If anybody's ever seen it, check out the Abbeville Institute website or YouTube channel. They go into the little history of it. The guy that built it was I think it was a Jewish immigrant. And the whole concept of it is race relations. It was literally a black lady, apparently was supposed to be a slave, cradling a white child. And it's supposed to show how everybody united because of this terrible thing that went down where Lincoln came down and fought the South for doing what they did in July 4, 1776, the Declaration everybody likes. And they're trying to remove that because it's racist, obviously. And the Alabama guy put it in as a runner in one of the bills because he has to get federal money. It's just basically crapping on the ancestors and all that to get rid of that because we have to get rid of everything of the 1860s because we're the bad people, us Southerners, even though the GOP back then was just as bad as the Dems down there. But it's centralized. The centralized government has to go. And I don't know how much else you're seeing it with the lockdowns. That's the problem. Everyone's focused on that, not focused on the gubernatorial races, not focused on the local ones. We all know of a certain guy that wanted to run for president, should have ran for a local area first. And half the stuff he put on the thing, you could not do if you did any kind of looking at the Constitution at Article 2 and say, yeah, you have no presidential authority to do that. But you can pretty much 98% of what they put down at the local level. But none of us as a whole think that. You see the guys like Bannon, guys like Charlie Kirk, you see all those guys that have platforms because they cash in on the centralized government. If there was no those guys wouldn't even exist. They have to love it because that keeps them going. Michael Knowles, all those guys. What's that one guy with the Prager University? They have to have centralized government for them to be meaningful.
Relevant.
Nikki, warmonger in chief. She'll probably be VP. I think she'll be VP because of the abortion issue only, because they're going to look for somebody that's not going to go pushing for it. And she's kind of,
well, you could pick anybody from South Carolina. You might as well pick Nancy Mace.
I'm just saying, it's just because he picked Nikki. Was it Department of Defense? Was not Department of Defense.
She was ambassador to the UN.
Ambassador. He picked Nikki before, so he likes Nikki. So I wouldn't be shocked if he goes after her. Go after like a Kamala type deal. My Kamala to your Kamala, except. Yeah, I don't know. But I think she'll be VP, even though Vivek is lobbying to be VP. And I think that'd be the smarter option to go with him. But Trump just had a good thing. He had a clip saying how much he liked Vivek, but he's got to quiet down a little bit. He's saying too many controversial things, and it's going to scare off people. Who cares? He knows he ain't going to win, He's getting some money for it now because of that debate. I guarantee, even though he wasn't getting a lot, he didn't. I think he was running mostly off his own money. I bet anything he's got a lot since that day. But no, he says if he wants to come down and say, he even touched on 9/11 for a little bit. Stop talking about government lies. I'm going, oh no, then we got a presidential candidate talking about this. I mean, he busted up on climate change, got booed for it. He busted against the wars. Now he has a warmonger against China, which was kind of scratchy. You're going after Afghanistan, Iraq, but you can't wait to go to war with China. I'm like, dude, you had me until you wanted to go to war with China. I'm going, okay, reel that in. But all these guys, it's all about, what I will do for you, how bad the other person is. And Jonathan, said that before. I'll send him a check. Just don't ever cash it because it will bounce. About why Trump wasn't going to be up there was, because he has everything to lose, nothing to gain. And he probably won't be on the next level. He doesn't need to. He got $2 million for going to jail. He is now, it was Jason Whitlock. He's now Tupac to the black communities. If he sold a rap album, he would be platinum. This guy, he's got street cred now for getting arrested. That meme, the mugshot would be sold by many people. I've already made some stickers and bumper stickers and things like that in the Teespring store. Why not? If you want a mug with it or a onesie with the mugshot on it, go for it with your baby. I don't care. I gotta pay for diapers somehow. But yeah, I mean, if he is gonna win in a landslide.
So what Trump needs to do for the next debate is he needs to literally have one of his staffers go to the podium, say, we'll be there. And then before it, just slap up a poster of just the mugshot and walk off. And it should just be in the center. And it should just be the mugshot while everybody else talks around it. Because I think that would be fantastic.
The only way Trump loses if they kill him. And he probably still wins.
He probably...
I think Mike Pence should walk out the debate stage with a fly on his head. That would be just
a big old one right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
There's literally nothing that man can do right now to lose. After being arrested, done. He's got everybody on his side. He's showing that he's showing those guys for what they are, trying to go after him.
It's
and
his
people
party.
that don't like him are going to see that. What's going on here?
I heard the CPAC moved away from DeSantis and now back into Trump again. Just today.
Wouldn't doubt it. The way the political wind shift.
Yeah.
Those people have no morals or principles.
Hurricane blew him over.
Yeah, right. I mean, DeSantis has got to go back to Florida to deal with all the hurricane stuff down there too. So, I mean, he should have just stayed there. But
there was a storm. Was it last year or something happened? And DeSantis was calling out the federal government about not taking any money. And here comes Biden down there. And what they do, they take some money from the feds that were going.
Well, they got a lot of problems with their insurance. The fact that major insurance companies don't back a lot of the houses down there. There's wide swaths of houses in Florida that have not been rebuilt from a couple of hurricanes because nobody wants to pay for it. So there is an issue down there with insurance coverage and so forth. But so it's not all roses. But what are you gonna do? You got to fix it at the local level. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Cry Room and our Saint of the Week. That's right. We've already gone an hour. It's very impressive this week. John, do you have a Saint of the Week and a Cry Room?
Yeah, I'm going to, I think I'm actually going to give it to Vivek. I listened to some things he said in response. These were kind of the, where he went to smaller towns and just opened it up for town halls and stuff and took anybody's questions. And the guy actually looked at people in the eye, went around, held the mic in front of folks in a way. I mean, as one of you guys said, I think is Fawaz was saying, Trump's got the way of using the television, but this guy was making personal connections with people and actually showing that he cared. It looks like, I mean, unless the guy's an absolute machine, but the way he smiled, the way he laughed, the way he kind of, you can see emotion coming up. And I listened to his valedictorial speech there at Catholic high school, talking about the things he learned about his friend's faith. There's some natural virtue there that I don't think we've had in politics truly in a while. So there you go. I'll take that natural virtue from a leader right now who's not trying to push anything against the faith. I'll take that for what I can get, and then leaving certain things about states' rights in their own hands. Yeah, and then I'll reiterate kind of something from last week. I know it's a little bit old, but as far as the cry room, got to go with. Well, I was gonna say the governor of Hawaii, but really, there's everybody on down the line there in Maui. So there was just so much wrong with the response there that anybody that had a hand in the way things were handled in Maui just deserves to be in the cry room altogether. And then we should plant this sort of odd non-native grass that's very flammable in the jail cell, in the cry room there, and just kind of have some maybe some electrical lines that are not quite up to snuff. That we can bring them all the electricity they want. They can have all the fun they want with electrical games and all, but they got to be in there with that grass and then see how they handle it, because somebody certainly needs to be held accountable for what happened in Maui. It seems like it was a real human disaster there.
Agreed. Well put. Fwa, Saint of the Week and Cry Room.
My Saint of the Week is not going to be one person, but actually it's going to be this the Texas Supreme Court, which I think just passed a law allowing the ban of the sex changes to go into effect. So I guess it went up to the state Supreme Court, and they allowed that ban to take into effect, which I think should be every state and in all ages. I don't think people should be changing their so-called gender, which is kind of funny because body parts don't determine someone's gender, but changing the person's body parts will determine the person's gender according to the left's ideology. Anyways, my cry room is going to be Chris Christie for obvious reasons, but for one of the reasons was I think Vivek nailed it on this entire thing is just him trying to get back at Trump as best as he can. Trump never gave him the job that he wanted. And actually, I think the fact that we have Christopher Wray as the director of the FBI, that was recommended. Now, Trump should not have taken the recommendation so that he gets negative points on this one. But I honestly think that Chris Christie recommended him. Trump trusted Christie, and he did it on purpose to get to a point. And now the same person that he appointed is going after Trump and the DOJ as well. So I think Christie's just a bad politician. Is a bad guy just all around.
Agreed. Very good point on Chris Christie. He's just a terrible person. All right. So I truly believe that. Steve, Saint of the Week and Cry Room.
I'm going to go with Father Basil. I don't know if you guys know of him. He's got a couple, he's got an MP3 website as well, Opus Sanctorum Angelorum, where he does some conferences. He's told me he's going to do some conferences on Sense Fidelity with me, so I'm looking forward to that on some specific issues that we all need to work on. But he has a great part in the book where he brings out, was it Julian of Norwich? I think it is. Julian Norwich talks about how she lived in a century where the papacy was transferred to France. There's 2 anti-popes. The Black Death was going around. 1/3 of the people died. And our Lord basically told her, chill out a little bit. I'm paraphrasing, but calm down. There's a bigger picture coming down, God's will, things like this. Where the next line was when he brings up St. Anthony of the Desert's complaining about, how does this guy get this, how does somebody like, I think McCormick just got released or whatever. People are losing their marbles about McCormick. And how's that guy get out? And, why is that something like, why does somebody that's this bad get a lot of money and things good things happen to him? And our Lord tells Anthony, hey, watch yourself, beeswax, make sure you become a saint first. So, I mean, the whole book is based on a writing from a couple centuries ago, who wrote, this nun wrote about 12 steps on silence. And it's something that we need a lot of, because you see a lot of people yelling on YouTube and commenting all the time. And sometimes I'm going, as busy as I get and trying to play with the kid, and I get to play with the kids all the time, every day. And I see all these guys tweeting online and going, how the world do you have the time to do these little things that mean nothing in the long run of things? So I think books like that need more of. Those need to be the best sellers. The ones that talk about how bad the problems on the church. We got enough of those. Father Abernathy has a great line. We don't need any more authors. We have enough books that people don't read that they should. So I think I'm going to go with Father Basil. I didn't even hear of until a couple weeks ago, I did an interview with him on this book. So it'll be the same week. Clown room, cry room. There's so many. There's an umpire that got thrown out of a game. There's a softball fight. I don't know how you get a slow pitch softball fight. I'm going to go with the centralized talking heads, the guys that want, that all they talk about is what can DC do for us. And if you're one of those, then congratulations, join the cry room, because that is not the way we need to go. And there's some guys that are calling around that there was one dude that had a post, big name. What if you won all the school council elections but lost the presidency? How many people watch, or not just watching, that would go, ooh, we lose the presidency, but you won every school council? And as he brought up, because that would be a victory. And in reality, that would be, but we don't see it that way. So the mindset of centralized authority, I'll throw in the cry room.
Speaking of books nobody reads, mine's going to be coming out in the spring of next year, so keep your eye out for it. That'll be an excellent. Hey, it'll make a great stop for your door, so make sure you go and purchase.
So now we got Rick Barrett, gun enthusiast, author, New York Times bestseller.
Paris Hilton, me, best-selling authors. That's how it goes. Right? I'll join the ranks of the Kardashians and Paris Hilton as world famous authors.
We got Enoch doing tours. He'll be up in the Grammys sometime soon. Rick is going to be at Wall Street, and he's going to be on Fox News talking to a former father, Jonathan Morris.
You already got one tiny guy at Fox News and Greg Gutfeld. They don't need two. So, ironically enough, Greg Gutfeld is actually shorter than I am. I met him once. Ironically enough, he's like here. I was like, hey, what's up, buddy? So, Saint of the Week, the new martyrs from the Martyrs Walk this weekend. Congratulations to you guys. They did a heck of a job. I welcome them into the brotherhood. They did they crushed it in crushing oppressive heat in the middle of August. They didn't back down. They continued to fight through. There's another walk coming up soon. Check out themartyrswalk.com if you are interested in becoming our newest martyr, or being the next group of martyrs that come out. Are you ready to die to sin, die to self, and live for God? You can check it out at themartyrswalk.com. My cry room is all of conservative media and all you losers on Twitter who have literally put a child on a pedestal. In case you missed it, this kid Jalen was at the school and he was wearing this patch, the Gadsden flag patch. And there was a whole video about it. And now conservative media cannot get enough of this stinking kid. And now, no offense to the kid, live your life. But people are like, oh, this kid's going places. He's being interviewed by all these other people. Can you just leave the kid alone? Can you just leave the kid alone? Let's stop. Are we such losers in the conservative movement that we got to find this 5-year-old kid and be like, oh, you're the future. Ooh, and just losing your mind about it? Leave him alone, man. He did something great. He pushed back against the woke. Awesome, fantastic, great. Just let him live his life. Don't do this stuff. Don't do this stuff to this kid. I just think it's absolutely pathetic. So everybody, anybody that promotes this or tries to make money off of it or have a video on it, it happened a while ago. It's over. Let the kid live. Don't exploit him. So I'm sure, Steve, did you do something, Steve? Am I calling you out too, buddy?
Oh, no. I have no idea. I knew it was from Colorado Springs. That's all I knew.
Yeah. So
St. Michael patches.
Yeah. Don't be a loser. Don't be a loser, and don't get your kicks off of promoting a child. I feel like it's child exploitation. You can come at me if you want. L-Arm Catholic on Twitter. I'll just mute you.
It came during that time when everyone was upset at Crisis for making that article about General Lee. General Lee was last week. All of Twitter media went absolutely berserk, saying how bad Lee was and how bad you are for thinking of Lee as virtues and things like blah blah blah. Because
Ryan McClanahan has been busy. If you follow his Twitter feed, he has been busy. He has been a busy man.
It was the Catholics that were. I mean, he wasn't talking to those things. The Catholics that were talking about how bad how do you call yourself a Catholic and be for Lee? And then you had this lady, that lady saying that the Gadsden flag was about slave trade. No. How stupid do you have to be to think that was the Gadsden flag?
To be fair, they are public educators, which means they are pretty stupid.
That's a new
I
level.
used to be one, so I don't know what that says, but hey.
Well, thanks, Rick. I was going to name my entire next album this kid's name, but I gotta change it now because I don't want to get.
You were doing the one with him.
That's right. You're gonna have him on to collaborate.
It's gonna be a track. Yeah, called "Don't Tread on Me."
Well,
that was the name of the song.
You're my boy.
He's helping Jonathan translate.
You get a pass. You'll be the one I promote, but everybody else you're a bunch of so that's how it goes. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of News from the Pew. If you like what we're doing, like, subscribe, share the News from the Pew. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will be back next week. God bless and viva Cristo Rey.
Viva.
To McDonald's Appalachia, what can I get you today?
Well, I'll have a Big Mac and some apple pie too. Supersize my fries and a large Mountain Dew.
Now I'm hungry.
Some vanilla ice cream and...
I'm sorry, sir, but the ice cream machine is not working.
It's a damn shame.